The echo in the chapel. When 4 teenagers ventured into an abandoned chapel on a dare, they expected dust, cobwebs, and maybe a scare or two. What they encountered instead left them questioning everything, and changed their lives forever. A night of curiosity. In the quiet town of Millersbrook, the old chapel had always been a source of whispers and superstition. Once the heart of the community, it had fallen into ruin after a lightning strike gutted its roof decades ago. Now, it stood like a ghost on the edge of town, shrouded in ivy, with its stained glass windows shattered and its steeple leaning precariously. Locals swore the building was haunted. You can hear the organ playing late at night, some claimed, while others spoke of flickering lights or the soft hum of voices inside. Most dismissed these as tales to keep children from wandering too far. For Ethan, Claire, Josh, and Lucy, the chapel wasn't scary, it was a challenge. They were bored teenagers looking for excitement, and what better thrill than proving everyone wrong? "We'll go in, record a few videos, and show everyone it's just an empty building," Lucy said confidently as they approached the broken iron gate one Friday night. Armed with flashlights and phones, the group squeezed through a shattered window and into the chapel's dark, musty interior. Exploration and unease. Inside, the air was thick and cold, carrying the faint scent of damp wood and mildew. Their flashlights illuminated pews covered in dust, broken hymnals scattered on the floor, and cobwebs draped across the rafters. The building seemed frozen in time, its once majestic altar now a shadow of its former glory. Still, it wasn't as eerie as they'd expected. "It's just old," Josh said, kicking aside a tattered Bible. "Nothing spooky here." As they wandered deeper, Lucy noticed something strange. "Guys, look at this." She pointed to the organ tucked in the corner. It was enormous, with rusted pipes that stretched toward the crumbling ceiling. Despite years of decay, the keys seemed untouched, their ivory surface gleaming in the flashlight's beam. "It's like someone's been taking care of it," she said, her voice tinged with unease. Ethan laughed. "Or it's just really good at collecting dust." He reached out to press a key, but before his finger touched it, a low, resonant note filled the air. The friends froze. "Did you?" Claire began, but Ethan shook his head. The organ stood silent and still, yet the sound lingered, deep and haunting, as if the building itself were humming. The hymn begins. "What was that?" Josh asked, his voice trembling. No one answered. Instead, they stood in tense silence, their flashlights darting around the room. Then it came again, another note, followed by a faint melody. It was slow, deliberate, and unmistakably the opening strains of Amazing Grace. The sound seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere all at once, resonating through the walls. "Okay, this isn't funny," Lucy said, her bravado slipping. "Who's doing this?" But the room was empty, save for the 4 of them. The hymn grew louder, more intricate, as if an invisible hand were coaxing it from the organ's keys. The friends huddled together, their earlier confidence replaced by fear, and something else. "Ah! It's beautiful," Claire whispered. Despite the eerie circumstances, the music wasn't threatening. It was soothing, almost reverent. Ethan's grip on his flashlight tightened. "We need to leave," he said. But no one moved. Instead, their attention was drawn to the altar, where a faint golden glow began to appear. A message revealed. The glow brightened, illuminating an inscription carved into the wall above the altar. The words, worn and faded, seemed to pulse with light. "Come to me, all you who are weary, and I will give you rest." Claire gasped. "That wasn't there before," she said, her voice trembling. The music swelled, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. Each of them felt something deep within, a peace that defied explanation. Claire thought of the anxiety attacks that had plagued her for months, and for the first time, her mind felt clear. Josh, who had been struggling with his parents' impending divorce, felt a strange sense of hope. Ethan, who rarely thought about anything spiritual, found himself overwhelmed by a feeling of connection, as if something, or someone, was reaching out to him. Lucy, who had always been the skeptic, felt tears streaming down her face. She didn't understand why, but she knew this moment was real. "We're not alone," she whispered. The aftermath. As suddenly as it began, the music stopped. The golden glow faded, leaving the chapel in darkness once more. The friends didn't speak as they climbed back through the window and into the cool night air. They walked home in silence, each lost in their thoughts, grappling with what they had experienced. Over the next few days, the group tried to make sense of what had happened. They returned to the chapel, but the organ remained silent, and the inscription above the altar was barely visible, as if it had been worn away by time. Yet none of them could deny the impact the experience had on them. Claire began attending church again, finding solace in her faith. Josh started talking to his parents, trying to mend their fractured relationship. Ethan, who had never believed in anything he couldn't see or touch, found himself praying for the first time in his life. And Lucy, though still unsure of what she believed, couldn't shake the feeling that they had been part of something extraordinary. The chapel remained abandoned, its mysteries unsolved. But for the four friends, it would always be a sacred place, a reminder that sometimes, even in the darkest and most forgotten corners of the world, there is light.